Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Sanandani and I'm an entrepreneur who has been associated with Inside IIM as a host since 2022. As always, this webinar will try to show you the journey, choices and motivation that can take a person to the top. Today, we are happy to have Aashish Jhunjhunwala, one of the core strategy team members of Tata Neu-SuperApp project working at the president's office. He's from a typical Marwari business family with loads of experience on different tangents. He's a CA, CS, CFA, and also an MBA grad from IIM Calcutta, and many more things. I think we will jot those down within the webinar itself. But he's not what his degrees show. Over the years, he has built expertise to synergize all his knowledge and ability to think from different perspectives to create and implement strategies that can make all our lives convenient and create a global impact. We will learn from Aashish and his journey and why his aversion to redundant, daily, repetitive work pushed him harder to grow, learn, and create a more challenging yet better work-life balance. I think we'll ask that as well in the webinar. If you have any questions during the presentation, please comment on the live chat and we'll address them during the Q&A. So really great having you here, Aashish, and want to learn a lot from your experiences.
Thank you, Sunandini. Thank you for having me.
Great. So just like before all these things, let's come back down to the ground reality of your 10th grade and see how your work or your life was when you were a 10th grader. So can you just tell us about your background and how your Marwari business family was?
As you mentioned, that I am born and brought up in Calcutta, and I come from a very traditional business family. And I think the difference between today's entrepreneurs and the traditional business families is that firstly we are bottom line profitable, and secondly, it's just not about getting customers; it's always about building a profitable business for us and a sustained growth model. So I think since my childhood was visiting my family business, and I had done slight alignment or used to love going there, learning from there, and you used to realize that the world there is totally different from what you see in school. So you see, like in your school, you're being taught about, let's say, geography, social sciences, biology, but most of that I did never used to see in reality, right? But now when I go to my family business, I realize, okay, like someone has purchased something, someone has sold, someone has made a profit, and this is interesting. This is what I want to do in my life. Had like the way life went due to some personal reasons, I had to join my family business at a pretty young age. Like for an outsider, it may have been like that, ये तो sad था, खराब हुआ बेचारे के साथ. But for me, like it was the best thing that could have happened to me. Like when I went to my family business, the learnings were amazing, and like again, there were a lot of learning in school, in the subjects, in the textbooks, but there was a very big chunk of learning that was happening beyond books inside the in my family business. So we were into textiles, and the largest, like the most of the time, would actually go overseeing the business, seeing that okay, the right purchases are made, do we have the right sales strategy in place, and this is, I'm talking from a perspective of a 13, 14, 15-year-old, right? And like we had 10, 20 staffs whom I had to manage, and convincing them that okay, a 15-year-old can actually be your boss. So I think, and again, we tried a lot of new things, we failed, we learned, we lost money, but I think the exponential growth that happened, that was significantly amazing. So for me, like class 10 was largely spending a lot of time in your family business. Back in school, unlike what most people think of me, that I would have been a front bencher nerd, I was the perfect last bencher, a complete nonsense. Uh, I have no clue that how many times I've been suspended till class 12. I had have my I have had my principal tell me ki, yeah, why don't you just make a room inside my office every other day you are here, right? So, and that's why, and like that used to be the most happiest part of me, that okay, how can I create a new mischief today, that the teacher, like how can I trouble the teacher, how, why, like I used to get a like personal satisfaction when the teacher used to punish me, okay, now I have outdone the teacher today. So that's like how, and most of my teachers have said me कि तुम्हारा life में कुछ नहीं होगा, तुम हाँ like तुम मजदूरी करोगे type ऐसा वाला thing. So but like I used to love troubling people back there.
So other than troubling your teachers, what was your dream or motivation during that point as a 15 or 13-year-old?
Unlike most people who wanted to be engineers, doctors, I knew here I want to grow my family business. So that time we were mostly into trading of textile. My dream was okay, one day I will actually have my manufacturing entity. where like होता है ना कि people will actually be buying from us, we won't be buying from others and selling it in the market. It's like I will like have a brand name. So like if you look at textiles, you won't actually see a brand a nationwide brand name, right? Like
Hmm.
you have a Parle-G biscuit, but when you look at textile, let's say you're talking about sarees or a salwar suit, you won't see a national brand, right? And
Hmm.
that time I was like, यार कुछ तो नहीं है ना, तो मैं बनाऊंगा इससे. So my dream was कि okay, I will spend 5 years, 10 years into my family business, learn the nitty-gritties, and one day I will have that जो Reliance ने like. And that time I think Guru had released back then, so I was pretty inspired कि this is higher, this is like I want to be the next Guru Bhai of India.
So, was this parallel to you choosing Bcom from Kolkata that time?
Yes, definitely. So, like I had got through SRCC, but firstly, my parents were a bit skeptical कि यार अभी तक the child has been born and brought up in Calcutta, will he be able to manage? And there was also a lot of affinity towards my family business. So at least the way I was thinking was, कि, do I actually want to leave this? No, I really want to continue this. I want to grow this. So the option was, do I stay back in Kolkata, run my family business, or study at Xavier's, or go to SRCC and probably learn a different skill set or have a different growth trajectory. I chose the former, and I don't regret the decision. Again, like sometimes you feel that when you see people from SRCC or when you go to SRCC for a talk and all, you definitely love the vibe there. That's pretty different from St. Xavier's. But the fact that I got to continue and stay with my business and grow that, I think that was equally satisfying.
Got it. So you actually did your CA and CS during your bachelor's. But before we get into what CA CS has taught you, I want to understand, because you are a person who has been into business and real world since 10th grade. So you knew exactly how different it is from the bookish stuff, which we, like I as a 23-year-old got to know now. That is the lag, I think 10 years lag we have. So because of that, I from your profile, you have so many degrees there. And I want to understand this only. Did you feel that these degrees were worth it if you knew that real life was far apart from what you were studying in a school?
Yes, some point, yes. Many a time, let's say, why should I study Julius Caesar? Like, I still never understood, right? कि कहाँ काम आएगा मेरे. But probably I have a very strong feeling, and I believe that in between कि many a times, like it doesn't directly get implied somewhere or doesn't is not directly used. But I think it helps you evolve and it helps you understand the broader scheme of things, which probably you consciously and unconsciously use in your daily life, right? So many a
Hmm.
times, let's say something is pretty common for us. Let's say most simply would be, I have boiled the milk. I need to cool it down very quickly. I will just start pouring it between a couple of glasses, right? I
Hmm.
don't even know ki aisa, like, why do I do that? We were taught that in school. So
Hmm.
although we do not have any direct implication in our daily lives, point sin theta, cos theta nahi aata hai kaam. But I
Hmm.
guess it gets like when we were learning a lot of stuff, that definitely came across. 50% was definitely redundant, but 50% was useful. And recently, I had a discussion with one of the like a unicorn founder. So he told me that my company has 1,000 people, and I feel 300 are extra. It's just that I don't know which 300 to fire, right? So 50% of the education was redundant, but you don't know which 50% is that.
Oh, that is an amazing example. I like it. So continuing to your journey, can you tell us something about your CACS and CFA days? How was your day? How did your day look like in terms of working?
So one thing which was completely different between me and majority of my friends who were pursuing is that I
Hmm.
understood very early in life that classes या tuitions लेना is like not just a waste of money, it's also a waste of time, right? So like if the teacher is teaching for an hour, or like in CS used to be like 3-4 hour classes, it just wasn't that 4 hours, right? It used to be like 2 hours of commute or 2 hours of your headwind ki jana hai and all. So it used to be like 8 hour class, right? And in the 4 hours the teacher is teaching, you have a person who has just barely managed to pass, you have a topper there, and the teacher needs to take everyone together, right? So I knew that this is definitely not the place for me. So maybe there are areas which I can learn very quickly. I can spend like an hour and I will be through that subject. And the teacher, just because a weak student is there in class, has to spend 8 hours. And similarly, there are areas where I am weak in, where the professor has to or the teacher has to spend a couple of hours, but I need 8 hours, right? So I knew that tuitions to life mein nahi lena hai. I have been pretty lucky in terms that I have a friend like mostly Ayush Bharuka. If you're watching, thank you. Uh, he's the one. Like The reason I've become a CA, CS, CFA, most of it I've like always referred to his notes. He is that person who will make amazing notes, is very diligent. I used to refer to his notes whenever I used to get stuck. He used to be my mentor, counselor, and that really helped me. So normally, what I used to do is I graduated from St. Xavier. Classes used to begin at 6, end at 9. So I used to wake up at 4:30, get ready, and go to college. College was around 15 kilometers away, so reaching there was itself a pain. Uber hadn't come in by then. uh,
Uh-huh.
9 o'clock the college ends. You go to your articleship form. 10 to 5 your articleship is there. 5 o'clock you come back, and then you realize, okay, which is the nearest exam you have to prepare for, right? So let's say if I am in March and I realize कि June में CFA है, so after reaching home you try to study a few hours of CFA, and then next day back to 4:30 waking up and going to college. Weekends was the time I used to ensure कि like whatever pending work I have over the week, I do that. And that was also the time I leveraged significantly to like, catch up with my curriculum. And I used to always ensure that the exams were scheduled in such a manner that every 6 months I'm giving an exam. And once I cleared my APCC, the finals were due 3 years later. So I used to ensure that within 3 years, every 6 months I'm either giving a CFA exam or an FRM exam. And during those 6 months, given that no tuitions were there, the just focus was on just okay, whenever time I'm getting, let's just prepare for that exam. So this is normally how I manage it.
Got it. And you told me in 10th grade, and also when you chose Bcom from Kolkata itself, the whole plan was you doing a business, like your own family, joining your family business. So what happened to that idea during this time? Because you took up so many things together, which was not related to your business as such. So what happened to that?
So yeah, I was continuously attached to my family business, largely more of like I was gradually moving from an operational role to a strategic role where every day MIS sort of a manual MIS used to come to me, and I was like, okay, why has this happened and why has that happened? But
Hmm.
one thing significantly changed was like rather than spending 7 or 8 hours into my family business, I started spending an hour only per day. And one thing which I realized, the reason that I started pursuing these courses was when I went into St. Xavier's, we had like toppers from across the Eastern India, and you realize that okay, they are taking tuition for CPT, that is the CA foundation and other courses, and they're still struggling to do like learn things or probably appear for the exam, solve question. And when I tried doing that even for our college examinations, I felt that hey, it was काफी अच्छा मजेदार and easy है. And that's the time I realized okay, maybe like maybe due to the family genes, or maybe that I have been attached to this family business, I understand commerce, finance better. These are things which are naturally coming to me. So I thought, okay, let's pursue this. Maybe hota na कि it's like given that I
Hmm.
have an advantage, let's use it. And as in when I spent more time with these courses, I realized that okay, yaar, I'm loving these courses. Actually, I was not one of those कि यार I was cribbing about कि CA tough है या मजा नहीं आ रहा है, ये करना पड़ता है. वो like हाँ, अच्छा चीज है, like मतलब like till date मतलब you give me a accounting sum, you give me a costing is my favorite subject. So you wake me up at 3 a.m. at night and say कि यार ये costing करना है, I will be more than happy to do it, right? So I think it was more about the like I did like when I tried solving it, it came very naturally, and I just fell in love with those subjects, and it just matched the Marwadi hai, finance aata hai. It's very natural, and it just went with the flow.
Got it. So after this, I think you joined Goldman Sachs. So can you just tell us your experience at Goldman Sachs in short, maybe?
Sure. So one thing which a regret or a mistake which I did throughout my life was I never had proper mentors in my career. And that time we did not have Inside IIM. That time we did not have a lot of YouTube channels which actually used to explain to you what life is about, how do you make choices. Like during 2008, almost all our family members, relatives had lost money with the 2008 crisis because
Hmm.
they used to trade on tips. And that's like when you started actually pursuing CFA, CAs, and you started watching a lot of movies of Kya Tha and all. So that time, when you watched a lot of movies, one name which came across was Goldman Sachs, right? Like being the biggest investment bank in the world and all. So post CA, when I got an opportunity to work with like Goldman Sachs, so like I did not even ask the profile kya hai, कि what am I supposed to do, how much I'm supposed to get paid. It was like Goldman Sachs है, interview देना है. I gave my interview, got selected, and I was like अरे वाह मतलब हाँ, like now in my mind I'm actually in that Wall Street trading कर रहा हूँ. हाँ 1 billion sell करो, 1 billion buy करो, and then I reach office and I'm explain कि करना क्या है. And then I was like yes, movie में तो ऐसा नहीं दिखाया था. Like this is different from what was shown to me in movies. And that's when you realize कि हाँ यार like मतलब just because Goldman is an investment bank, everyone in Goldman Sachs is not doing investment banking or trading at the Wall Street. And that's when you realize कि हाँ यार okay अब आ गए हैं तो कर ही लेते हैं जो भी है. And that was the time कि I realized कि it was largely uh, private equity fund accounting controller's role. So that's largely for a layman term. It's like Goldman has big private equity funds which is invested across the country, across the globe. Uh, for the where does the money come from? Money comes from, let's say, 1,000 investors. They have pooled in money. Goldman is investing, and now you need to do accounting, cash management, regulatory reporting, anything legal, anything investor related for these things. So that was my day-to-day job. It used to be a 3-month cycle because every quarter we used to prepare, value the investments made, prepare the investor statements, and that was like for the first 2 quarters, I was still thinking कि हाँ यार बहुत ही मजेदार impactful काम कर रहा हूँ. अगर मैंने एक गलती कर दी, so let's say the valuation could basically go up and down by 1 billion. And 2 quarters later, I realized कि नहीं यार मजा तो नहीं आ रहा. And like 4 quarters into the firm, I realized कि यार ज्यादा दिन तो ये नहीं होगा. And that was the time I decided कि यार चलो MBA कर लेते हैं.
Okay, understood the whole cycle. So just one thing, I think you spoke about something known as front end and the back end work. And I want to understand if you had to give an example, एक कोई topic है, and then you have to say कि this is the front end work which they were doing, this is the back end work which I was doing and I hated it. So can you just explain us?
Okay. Most simplest thing would be कि let's say you go to a sabji wala. There's a front end sabji wala who is actually negotiating with you, a vegetable seller who is negotiating with you, who's trying to cross sell you, trying to upsell you. He take this, take that. He's also the owner of the business, is handling cash and everything. And once you say ki, okay, this is what you have buy, he just asks his assistant, okay, can you just pack this for ma'am and deliver it to her car, right? So the person who negotiated with you, the person who actually sold you the product, the person who actually made money is the front end. The person who supported the entire thing from a back end was the back end person. So let's say if I talk about investment banking, or let's say like even trading desk and all, normally there would be a lot of opportunities coming in, especially at global firms. So let's say for my team sitting at Dallas, they want to make an investment in China, right? So now they will need support in actually identifying, evaluating the Chinese market, needing some random data benchmarking. So they would be a backend team who are helping them provide this data, making a deck for them. Then they evaluate the data, make the investment. So while the investments have been made, a team needs to ensure that okay, money has actually gone out, or they have actually received it. There would be a legal team, and once those investments have been made, ensuring that investors are updated about everything, cash is managed, the cash books are done, accounts are prepared, valuations are done. This is again what a backend team would be there. So the front end would actually just ensure that they are evaluating the right investments, making the right investment, and ensuring that there's a timely exit. So these are the front end people, and everyone other who are actually helping them do this, they are the mid or the back end. So normally, what would happen? The front end team in a MNC like Goldman or a JP Morgan would be sitting somewhere in the United States or a London or a Dallas, and the back end team, given for a cost efficiency reasons, normally sits in the Bangalore or Hyderabad in India.
Good. So you wanted to reach the front end team, right? So for
Yes.
was MBA the only option, or you could actually join your own business where you would be the sabziwala and the owner, and or else maybe you could have joined some other company. Was there any other option other than MBA at that time?
Yeah, options were definitely there. So firstly, majority of these companies promise you that at some point or the other they will do an internal mobility to front end, which I clearly tell to most of my juniors or mentees that wo gada ke samne, like it's a carrot in front of a donkey. As in when the donkey will move, the carrot will continuously move. That happens, never happens. That happens at 1% of the time, right? The option at that time again, I had already spent 2 years, so and the pay at Goldman was pretty good. So normally start going to front end at a like bulge bracket. Normally look for IITs, IIMs. So one option could have been that I could have started my journey again with a smaller firm. Then that would have meant that I should take a pay cut and all. And again, the career trajectory would have taken a lot of time. So that I felt that probably MBA would be more time and cost efficient as compared to like with my CA and CFA trying to get into a front end role. Again, possible, but difficult and challenging. The career trajectory, the pace or the growth takes a hit. Times have changed over the past 5 years, and nowadays a lot of CAs actually are going into investment banking and private equity. Compared to for my family business, I could have become that front shopkeeper, But at that point, what I was thinking was that, do I actually want to be a part of a small sabji dukan, or do I actually want to be a part of a DMart? And that's when I decided, okay, let's be a part of DMart and ensure that you're conquering one part of India and gradually looking to conquer the other parts, rather than just being a small shop in a sabji mandi kind of a thing.
Ashish, I really like your examples. So moving on. So you went to IIM-C. So can you just tell me what was the experience and how it was different from all your CA, CFA, all those exams and coaching and everything that you learned from them?
The first big differentiation was that across like CS, CFA, CS, uh, they don't have in classroom classes or in person classes. It's all like largely you enroll, they give you, send you books, and then you have the exams. Even with St. Xavier's, it was an in campus thing, but my college used to start at 6, end by 9. So till the time people used to actually be awake and see, okay, life exists, we were actually out of college. So actually, like despite having a college life, I did not have a college life or that college interaction or the college personality growth. So the first time I entered into IIM Calcutta and started meeting a lot of friends, the first thing that struck me was the uh, I was the frog in the pond, right? A frog in the well. Yeah, the world is way beyond what I've seen. So normally I've interacted with majority people being from the commerce background, majority people being businessmen, and that's the first time someone used to tell me that you're minority ho. And I was like, how the hell am I supposed to be a minority? And then you realize in a batch of 500, we have 4 chartered accountants, and like let's say the non-engineers are approximately 10%, right? And then suddenly I was like, okay, the world has changed. Like, like probably till the time I entered IIM Calcutta, I always knew कि, okay, there are IITs. There would be IIT Bangalore, Delhi, IIT Bombay, Delhi, and Chennai, right? Kharagpur, the fourth one. उसके बाहर थोड़ी ना IITs होते होंगे. And when I entered there, I was like, इतने सारे engineers कहाँ से आ गए यार? मतलब ये दिखते क्यों नहीं थे मेरे को आज तक कभी? And that's like, and like I was very skeptical. Okay, how do they wear? These are people who have actually spent 4 or 5 years into a campus life. They have worked post that, and now they are coming here and they're much more informed. They have seen the world way more than me. So I was pretty skeptical in the beginning, but gradually when started interacting with them, when I started making friends, I realized that these people are very receptive and very open to thought sharing, teaching you things which you don't know, learning from you. So one thing which I like, the difference was like like collaborative learning or a community learning that happened at IIM Calcutta. That was the biggest learning factor for me. And to most of the people who are like continuously running after internship, yeah, CV में 4 internship दिखाएंगे नहीं, like have one internship, but ensure that your off the job learning is way more than what you're learning on the job or within the classroom.
So your internship was from Gaja Capital. And I want to understand now. So you went from Goldman Sachs to here. So how different was your role in these two? And how different are the two companies basically?
Yeah, back in campus, again, I was told that private equity is the next big thing in the world. And like which all companies are coming for the campus, and that time Gaza and multiples were coming for the summer placements. And I asked around, and like they said that okay, Gaza is the best available on campus. So like okay, Gaza is the dream company for me. It beat my profile, beat my acad. God was kind enough, and I had a lot of shortlist and hotlist for my summer placements. So at least my thought process was whichever company agrees, like or extends me an offer for, I would accept that company, and that happened to be Gaja Capital, which probably in hindsight was a pretty good decision. Gaza Capital, like I had some technical knowledge what a private equity does, what investments are, what valuation is. But the day we reached office, my first reaction was, ki, okay, like okay, this may be a canteen or something. Where is the office? Right? It's like at Goldman, we used to have bigger washrooms than the entire Gaza Capital office. And like there are 9 cubicles. They went and gave me a cubicle. मुझे लगा था कहीं तो कुछ गलत हो रहा है यार, मतलब कि कहाँ आ गया मैं. And then like it's like a Monday, 10 a.m. we have reached, 10:15. It's a huddle kind of a thing with the founders and all. And they just tell me one thing that okay, in your head till now you would have been an intern here. Take that out. We are paying you. We expect you to work like a proper employee. The two hygiene factors are that you come before everyone, you go out, go after everyone. When we are giving you something, we don't want facts or simple summary that even the receptionist can do. So we have hired you for your brain, so ensure that you are continuously using that. And that was like an introduction or a, as they say, induction into the firm. And at 11 o'clock, I am given, okay, these are the 3 projects. Can you just start working on it? And I remember back in Goldman, the first entire month was induction, right? कि आज ये ट्रेनिंग कर लो, आज वो ट्रेनिंग कर लो, आज ये सिस्टम समझ लो. So like back in Goldman, 1 महीना के बाद तो मैं बोल रहा था यार कि give me some work, I need to show to my family members here actually काम करता हूँ. And like at Gaza, one day into the firm, and I was already like, here, okay, I have a lot of pending work here. So that was the biggest difference. People were exceptionally smart, right? So till that point, wherever I had gone, I had 5 degrees to my name. I was a topper. I was a top performer. I was like, हाँ यार, मैं तो सबसे ज़्यादा मचाऊ रहूँगा. I would be the top person in the room. And when you like at Gaza's office, probably I was the least qualified or the least machao person there. And that time reality struck you, okay, this is the next week you have come in. And those 2 months were amazing in terms of learning, in terms of meeting people, meeting founders, the entire like understanding, okay, how the system operates, how the industry operates. And till date, I'm in touch with most of the people there. And it was one of the most fabulous 2 months I had.
Yeah, that is great to know. So, so you went there, you did this. So did you like the work exactly, the private investment firm and all the workings that happens in there? Was that enjoyable? Was it the front end that you were looking for when you left?
That was actually the front end I was looking for. One thing which I realized was um, like it's very like what you see from outside, that's very attractive because you don't know, like you see the roses, you don't see the thorns. When you reach there, then you see okay, there's a reason only very few people are there, right? So definitely that was a front end. The work was amazing. The people I was working with were amazing, but the working hours, like the continuously being on your feet, continuously trying to analyze, evaluate things, I think that was very challenging. And again, till then, we had only at least had a perception that private equity is only about making कि founder आएंगे सर पैसा दे दो, मैं evaluate करूंगा and I will just write a check to them. And as you spend 2 months there, you realize कि नहीं, this is just a very small part of the job. Out of the 100 deals you evaluate, you end up investing in one, and sometimes not even that. Once you've invested your money, 5 years, you are actually monitoring that company. You are helping them portfolio manage their companies, their hiring, their strategy, and all. So that was when you realized, okay, maybe I need time to reevaluate whether I actually want to be in this industry, or do I actually have all the skills required to be in that industry, right? So that's again one of my life lessons, that just because you are getting an opportunity, like just don't take it because that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Ensure that you actually have the right skills, the right requisite skill set to be able to sustain there, right? So that was a very hard call I took in my life, because I knew that okay, there are certain portions, maybe technically I'm very amazing, technically I'm very sound, valuation is good, but maybe communication, industry analysis, some of the skills which probably a consultant learns in the first 2 years are something which I lack. And that was the reason that during my final process, I decided to choose consulting over finance.
Got it. So after this, I think COVID stuck during that time when you just passed out of Calcutta. Right. Sorry for that. But what happened later on? You joined NIIF, that is National Investment and Infrastructure Fund. So can you explain what that investment fund does exactly and how deeply it is closely knitted to government?
Yeah, back in 2017, I think, not sure if Piyush Goyal and Nirmala Sitharaman was presenting the budget. Okay. And sorry, Mr. Arun Jaitley was presenting the budget. And he came up with a provision that we actually need to set up a government partnered private equity firm, which would actually help in the development of the nation, right? So infrastructure is one such area where it is very difficult to earn money, right? And that's why you don't see a lot of infrastructure equity finance or infrastructure private equity companies in India. So that with that idea, NIF was born. Government contributed some around 20,000, 25,000 crores, and the rest was supposed to be contributed by other investors like the National Development Bank and other partners, other sovereign funds. The idea was that we'll be setting up 3 separate funds. The first one being a master fund, which would invest in assets like the road assets, renewable energy, ports. I think they have a few. They already have a few assets in their portfolio. We have Ayana, we have the Chipali Road, and we're continuously evaluating more roads. We have a funds of funds where we use, like we invest or co-invest in other private equity funds, which we feel are making impact at a larger scale, either be it, let's say, a climate friendly fund, or let me say how it is helping the nation. And the third one was how we are investing in areas which actually impact the lives of people. So let's say a pharma company or a medical company, or let's say a grocery company which is ensuring farm to fork business, right? So those are the areas. So this is what largely NIF does. Not The government does not directly interfere into the day-to-day operations of the private equity fund. However, while investing, we need to be extra cautious that last में investor का पैसा भाई बहुत, like again, when I pay taxes, I am very saddened, very hurt कि यार पैसा देने पड़ रहे हैं. So we have to be very careful that okay, this is the investors hard, taxpayers hard-earned money. So let's make sure that it's put at the right place. The ESG component is very high, so we can't afford to have a sequoia like thing at an IIM. The third one was whichever investment was making, so either that helps in the development of the nation, so it has to be an infrastructure thing, or it actually simplifies the life of people. So be it in terms of making grocery more easier, helping the farmers, or making medical facilities more easily available, making finance available to small and SMEs. So that was the idea. So we have to be extra careful. We do work under the government oversight, but the government does not directly or very closely track what we are doing.
Got it. So you worked here only for, I guess, 6 months, and then you later joined the big three, as we say, BCG. And here is where consulting came into picture, and you were explaining why you chose consulting. So you worked at Goldman Sachs in 2018 and as an associate, I think, and then you joined BCG as a senior associate in 2020. Though I've discussed many things that happened in between with you and how different it was. But if you had to explain how different were these two roles, the associate role here and the senior associate role in BCG. So can you just explain us that?
Sir, very honestly, associate and senior associate were largely tags or designations, but the job profile was significantly different. At Goldman, as we mentioned, that it was a mid to back end thing. So we used to tell ourselves that we are the first line of control, and there are multiple controls behind us, right? So whatever we used to do, there used to be an audit of that. So even if I ended up making an error, I would actually have a senior person checking on my work, then the fund partners checking on the one. And even if everyone made a mistake, there would be internal audit, external audit. Galti pakad mein aa jata, right? And at the end of the day, it would have been some $1,000, and no major impact would have been there, right? If I would have fallen sick, or if I am missing in action, so things could have been delayed for 2 days, right? It wasn't very hard and fast rule. Things like I had a very clear visibility over the next 3 months. This is my plan of action. This is my work I need to do. Consulting, on the other hand, it's very client first, and it's very front end, right? So if I tell you, consulting would be more front end than private equity, right? Because at the end of the day, private equity is a buy side thing where you are investing money, you have people coming to you to ask for investment, so you still have a scope to make errors. Here, the partners have sold a project to the client, and like the consultants are billed at a hefty rate, right? Like probably, let's say, a person like me, and a senior associate would normally get billed at 5 to 6 lakhs per week, right? So when the client is paying 6 lakh, 5 lakhs per week, they actually want to also ensure कि यार इसने उस हफ्ते में 5-6 लाख का कुछ किया है, right? So and like my first day into the job, I'm explained कि okay, this is your project. I was working with uh, a public bank which had recently gone a merger with two other banks. This happens to be the fourth or the fifth largest bank in India. I am taken to the middle management there, people who have been in banking for the past 20 years. Like probably in the next 3-4 years, he would become an executive director. And he's like, okay, this is your module you would be working on. This is a work stream. Just discuss with him, okay, what would be your next steps? And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, like, aaj main aaya hu, right? Like, you have to give me 1 week to step up, 1 week to get up to speed. Nothing like consulting is not about that. Consulting is about how quickly you get up to speed, how quickly you interact with the clients, how quickly you deliver impact, right? And the first week was in shock. The scope of errors are very less because the team structure is very lean, right? So whatever I have done, normally my project leader would just glance over that, and it would go to the partners and then to the client, right? So, and things move like significantly fast, right? And most of it is first principle, right? So when at Goldman, I knew that I need to prepare the financials. I have already prepared 10 financials before, or if I have not prepared, someone else has prepared. So there's always a benchmark. There's always the next person का copy है कि मैं exam में देख के copy कर लिया. But this is the first time कि I have to write a thesis जहाँ मुझे ही लिखना है. So, and many a times it's the first principle thinking, right? Because if you come up with basic solutions, basic answers, the client knows that. The client knows the business better than me. I am here to give them the, like, matlab, as I often say, it's just not even about the out of the box thinking. It's about without the box thinking, right? Because after spending so many years, the client has already thought out of the box. ये कर सकते हैं. I need to make I need to get the next big thing for him, which he can actually help him gain market share, gain profitability, change the way he operates. So I think those were the major difference between consulting and all. So like probably 2 months into the firm, I remember presenting to the CEO of that bank, and that's like okay, matlab Goldman may probably if I would have stayed another 10 years also, I wouldn't have got a chance to sit in a one-to-one meeting with the CEO of such a big venture and be presenting to him, discussing with him. So that is what consulting does to you.
That sounds great, and something that you wanted when before your MBA. So why
Absolutely.
did you decide to leave this job? After that, how many years did you work here?
Here I worked around 20 months here,
Okay.
and there are like largely two reasons. I will be upfront and honest. Firstly, the market was ripe and hot. The startups, every other startup was becoming a unicorn. Anyone who could actually even make a deck and say sell a dream were receiving funding in the startup ecosystem. And when the VCs were investing money, some were also going to the employees and the new hires there. Like we had Bharat Pay who was giving bike. People were ready to offer 50-60% hikes. So definitely, like a big jump was one of the reasons. But 18-20 months into the consulting industry, I realized that no matter how impactful work we do, at the end of the day, we are those cheerleaders who are standing outside on the fence and giving like probably like a coach. I'm saying, "Here, ye karna hai." But I actually wanted to be that player. I did not want to be a Ravi Shastri or Anil Kumble and just say, "Okay, let's do this." Right? I wanted to be that Virat Kohli or let's say Rohit Sharma and actually implement that on ground. So I had my family business experience. I knew that what ownership of works look like. No matter you can easily make strategy, you can do consulting for outsiders, for other companies, but the moment you start doing it for yourself, for your own company, owning the things, most of the times you would just be responsible for making the strategy, right? So many times even as consultants what they would do is jo cheez, like some things which are not actually possible to implement on ground, they would suggest it, right? If I'm suggesting you 10 things, only 6 are feasible to be implemented. Now, when you actually move to a business side role, you can't do that, right? Because the next time that the owner, the CEO would come and say, like you were the one who suggested, right? This 10, show me and implement it, right? So now we have to be more careful. We have to be more like that ownership is there, that accountability is there. And that's the best part. So that was the reason I decided, look, it's time that probably, although we are currently working outside the ground, let's get into the ground and get your hand dirty there.
Got it. So I think after almost 11 years of your work experience and in different roles in different categories, and you explained why you jumped across these different industries. So now you finally joined strategy role in the president's office with Tata Digital, working on specifically Tata Neu-SuperApp. So let's dig deeper into this and see how your experiences, past experiences, courses, degrees have helped you shape this role. So before we get into the story with Tata, I want to know exactly what Tata Neu is working on and to explain how the super app can, solve a problem. So can you just tell us?
Here, like let's go 5-10 years before. Probably booking a flight would have been more about calling a travel agent, going to the respective airlines, a website, and everything was broken, everything was shitty, right? Then Make My Trip came. You could book flights there, right? Now the people now book my show, Make My Trip realize that okay, the people who are actually coming to book flight, they will also have staying needs or hotel needs, right? They introduced hotels into it, and gradually they realized here people are not even aware. Sometimes they want to travel, but they don't have a travel package. They introduced the travel package into it. Then they gradually introduced IRCTC or the railways into it. Then Redbus got integrated. So the what was gradually happening was for a similar target consumer or consumer persona, whatever need in a particular category was there, different apps try to satisfy or cover all of them, right? So as I mentioned about hospitality or the travel, make my trip travel and hospitality was taken care of. Now let's go to Swiggy. Now Swiggy is just not a food delivery app, right? Swiggy has a rider which can deliver, which has the capability to deliver things. Now it can deliver food from a restaurant. It can get you medicines from the nearby pharmacy. You have a friend you have forgotten your notes, he can get you that. So what Swiggy is basically a super app for a delivery service. So normally, till Tata Neu came into the picture, it was all about apps coming in being a super app in a specific category, which could be food, which could be delivery, which could be hospitality, which could be ride hailing. Now suddenly, what happens is Tata realizes that yeah, across our ecosystem, we have Big Basket, we have 1MG, we have Chroma, we have Tata Click, we have IHCL. There are different consumers, right? And we are touching consumers at different points in their cycle, right? So let's say if I look about a normal persona, let's say talk about you. Some point or the other, you would order grocery, you would order medicines, you would do a hotel booking, you would travel in a Vistara or an Air India, you would sometimes purchase electronics on Chroma, and like probably if I am inside IIM goes on to do an IPO, you would also be booking a car at Tata Motors, right? So normally we have all those touch points. Why not just let put them together and ensure that it's a one stop for all the consumer needs? And that what exactly Tata did. Tata introduced Tata Neu. It was the first consumer super app. So super app was prevalent in India, but it was very category specific. Tata Neu became the first consumer super app across categories. And the idea is that you whatever you need in your life, whatever online offline thing you have to do, Tata would be present there. And what it would do is actually it will start giving you more personalized recommendations, product discovery, better pricing, better discounts, better loyalty points. And with that idea, Tata Neu was formed.
Got it. So, if I had to talk about your work there, so first of all, how did you get the opportunity to even get in this?
So yeah, back with BCG when I decided that okay, it's time I get actually into the ground. That time the potential options was a startup, a CEO's office role, or a strategy role at a startup. Private equities, they were literally hounding after me that okay, we'll give you a high, come to private equity. And I was that sure that okay, I will join a unicorn in the CEO's office. Had a few offers, and I had made up my mind. And then one day I received a call from a headhunter that an Indian conglomerate is looking for the president's office. They are building a super app, and that time I had like enough information that okay, this is Tata they are talking about, and whether if I would like to interview with them. So I inquired about the role, who would be I reporting to, and that's the time Mukesh Bansal's name came in. Mukesh Bansal is the president of Tata Digital. He also happens to be the founder of PureFit and Myntra, and I had read a few of his books, a couple of his books. I read a lot about him, his persona, his leadership skills, and that time I knew, okay, be it anything, let me interview for this role. If nothing else, I can like I'll at least get those 5 minutes of face-to-face time with Mukesh Bansal. And that time I interacted with a couple of senior folks in Tata Neu. Loved their vision, loved the passion they had, loved the holistic growth they were talking about. They weren't just looking at technical skills; they were looking people with purpose, people who are driven. And by my second interview, before the Mukesh interview, I knew that okay, I really, really want to be a part of that team. And I had an interaction with Mukesh, and things went well. And I got an offer from Tata Digital, and I was more than happy to be a part of the team.
Great. But just to dig a bit deeper in here, so can you just tell us how many interviews were there and what were like, what were they looking in for hiring a strategy manager?
Yeah, so I had a couple of roles. Mukesh was a more of a hygiene check or more of a just to see that if I'm the right fit for the team. The two interviews which I gave for like with Tata Neu, like both were senior folks. Again, ex consultants. One was an ex BCG, one was an ex McKinsey. So the interview focused on two things. Firstly, was strategy of problem solving. The most simplest way to test that is like do a case study. The entire consulting selection process is based on that. And the second thing which they were looking for was that I'm not joining Tata just because of a higher pay or for a work-life balance. It was actually I'm very passionate about the vision they had. I'm actually very driven. I actually know that why I'm joining this company, and that was the two larger things they were looking for. Even today, when we hire, these are the two major areas we look for. That are you actually passionate and driven by the fact that what we are building, do you really believe in that? And the second thing is that given that you would actually be like an internal consulting team, So do you have those problem solving skills within you?
Got it. So the strategy manager role, if I'm not wrong, is just not restrained by any industry since you're building a super app for all industries. And other than that, you have, it is not even, it is very challenging role. Maybe if the policy is changed, it is a very disruptive thing. If something happens, you will be affected by it because you're in all industries, basically. So you're definitely not doing a redundant work, which you hated or didn't like before your MBA. So do you feel you are where you wanted to be 4 years back when you took the call to do an MBA?
Yeah, very honestly, back then, if someone would have told me ki you would be directly working with like senior folks, category, like most of our category leaders are founders, like we have ex-unicorn founders or founding team members, people who have been N-1 at unicorns. We have Mukesh Bansal out here. So if 4 years before someone would have told you you would actually be working so closely, like probably uh, ex unicorn CEO would be sitting beside you, I wouldn't. I would have been like, यार MBA करने से इतना कुछ नहीं होता है, पैसे थोड़े ज़्यादा मिलते हैं, right? Probably even with BCG, I wouldn't have thought कि this would have been the case. So this is like personally, I'm very happy and like 4 years before, this is way beyond what I could have dreamt where I would be in life. And life has like God has been kind, and the team members have been extremely supportive at Tata Digital. They ensure that work is only a part of it. Your personal growth, your personal life, your personal work-life balance, your personal goals all tie in together. And so definitely, I'm way, way, way more ahead, at least in my mind, of what I thought that I would be there in 4 years.
That sounds damn good. So, if I had to ask you, what is a strategy role? Maybe differentiating it from a product manager role. So, can you just explain us the difference between these two?
Sure. I think let's say mm, so let's say strategy is about, again, I will go back to the vegetable seller example. Uh, like there could be one generalist vegetable seller who has 10 type of vegetables, and normally probably there would be a couple of kind of potatoes, a couple of kind of onions, and there would be like, let's say, green vegetables would be like 3 or 4 bundles would be there. And just beside that, there would be a person who is specializing in potatoes. He has 10 types of potatoes. He has a smaller potato. Like you tell him that, okay, this I want to make aludam, he will give you a special type of potato and all. So that's largely the difference. Strategy role in general is very generalistic kind of thing. We can be like, tomorrow I can be told that yeah, gamification karna hai. Okay, so like why don't you pace up, or why don't you speed up with bring up to speed on what is gamification going around? Yeah, how is gamification in the world? Or let's say social commerce mein kya ho raha hai? Then let's say quick commerce mein kya ho raha hai? Product is more deep diving into it. Ki, okay, this is what the customer wants. This is what the strategy team has given to me. Now, how do I be that gap between the strategy team and the customer, right? So normally our product managers will be focused on, okay, this is how the app looks like, this is how the interface is, this is how the customer would navigate the journey, this is the feature customer requires, this is not. So like a lot of people think that yeah, jo chahiye sabko ek app mein bhar do na. Nahi, like that would lead to a cognitive overload for the customer. So what's the optimum balance and what's the best experience for the customer? I think product manager is responsible for that. Again, this is a very app driven thing, that's why probably product managers are more inclined towards the app. But normally you would be becoming in charge of a particular product line, a product item, or a product app, may a product feature, and you will need to ensure that the best delivery or the best outcome or a best customer experience is there. So I think that's more about product manager. Given that we are moving gradually more to more and more digital world, to a more app driven world, product manager is a role like probably what consultant or management consulting was 3 years before. That used to be the blue-eyed boy of all the all the MBA students. I think we're gradually moving from management consulting to product managers because they do strategy, they develop the product, they do tech, they are doing a more holistic job. So I think product management is, or the product manager is the next big thing to look for.
Great. So if I had to ask you practically your responsibilities and your work, as in maybe you got an idea, maybe you got a strategy, and then how you implement it. So what is the sequence of responsibilities and things that you do on the way?
So normally what would happen is that normally a problem is given to us that yeah, let's say most simplest would be ki on a particular product company or on a particular subsidiary company, the retention rate is low, or let's say the bounce rate is high, or let's say the conversions are not as it is supposed to be, then we'll potentially identify that what could be the multiple reasons for the same. We
Oh,
identify the root cause.
sorry to interrupt you. So who gives you the problem? Can you just tell us that?
So normally it would be coming from the leaders, or let's say it could be the department leaders, it could be the CEO. We as an organization, whenever we do reporting or when we have internal reviews, we realize that okay, these are the hits, these are the misses, and from the misses we realize that these are the problem areas.
Hmm. Okay.
And once you have other problem areas, we try to identify the root cause for the same, and then see that okay, there are certain things which can be changed, which can be improved. For that, we try to find the best in class things. We try to identify okay, this is the desired outcome, this is the desired place where we want to be, this is where we currently are, and to gap the difference or gap the journey, we try and come up with strategies. Sometimes it would be more about identifying the best in class practices and trying to replicate that. Sometimes it would be yeah, we are at a unique problem, we have a unique problem, so let's use some first principles to come up with a new solution. And then at least theoretically it should make sense to us, okay, this is your aha moment कि ये करेंगे तो solve हो जाना चाहिए theoretically, right? So let's say customers aren't buying from our app because for a particular category the price is high. So my hypothesis would be yes, okay, if I give them 5% extra discount, now the retention should improve, right? So now my solution is that okay, let's give them 5% in a manner that my financials are not affected. Now we actually need to go out and test here whether this hypothesis will work. So we'll talk to multiple people, we'll talk to consumers, we'll do some FGDs, and we'll talk to we'll probably do a pilot and see whether it's actually working or not. And if that's working, then we'll align with multiple stakeholders and try to implement it on the ground.
Got it. So now throughout the whole journey, we understood, from a private investment point of view, from a consulting point of view, you also explained this product manager's point of view. So if you had to suggest your role in strategy to someone, so what kind of people should aspire to take a role like this? What should be they good at? And what are the CEOs and founders of these companies looking for?
So largely 3 or 4 things. Firstly is problem solving approach.
Okay.
Most of the time you won't have a person to copy from, right? So normally getting a problem and having that attitude to solve that problem through first principles, through analysis, through interaction with people, that's the most important thing, right? Sadly, this is the thing which cannot be taught, right? It is usually gained by experience. It is something very natural. It is something which you gain over years, right? So it is not कि I train you or probably एक framework दे दिया उससे problem solve हो जाएगा, नहीं होगा, right? The second thing is practicality. So most of the time people come up with they are able to solve the problems. They are able to solve the problems in a manner which is not implementable, which is not feasible. So practicality is the second thing. Third thing is people skills, right? So no matter whatever you are doing, which part of the job you are involved in, uh, at a strategy low, you will be interacting with a lot of people, from the CEO to founders, uh, to colleagues, to customers, to competitors, to your tech team. So you have to ensure that you are able to deal with them. So if you are actually good at problem solving, you have that practicality lens, you can actually be a good people person. And if you have decent communication skills, I think strategy is the place for you. And like if you're actually driven by all these facts, right? Just because you do all for this doesn't mean you should go to strategy. If this core actually excites you, right? You like being in the land of the unknown. If you actually uh, like being thrown challenges every day, not sure. Like in the morning, I'm not sure that yeah, आज ये करना था मैं कर पाऊंगा कि नहीं कर पाऊंगा, right? So at least in my mind, till the time you have that fear every day, ki yes, will I be able to do today's thing which I'm actually aiming for? So I think this is the job for you.
Got it. So maybe I think this is the last question from my side. If you had to say what is your long-term goal moving forward, personally and professionally, so what do you think it is now?
Yeah, so professionally, I think I would at least my idea is that either I move to a CXO role in a startup or probably grow within the firm and take up a leadership role in the next 3 to 5 years. Again, the idea being that over the next 3 to 5 years, I spend a lot of time learning things. And once I feel that okay, the learning curve is becoming flattened now, it never stops, but it definitely the pace decreases after a certain point. So that's the point I think that probably rather than being more tactical and operational, I would like to become more strategic and take up a leadership role. And on a personal scale, I think I would want to be like more fit and more diverse in things which I do. So currently, I do a lot of things. I run business. I have a job. I mentor students. I content create on LinkedIn. I create content on LinkedIn. But again, most of these are things which are very similar to each other, right? You won't find me uh, randomly traveling. You won't find me drunk at a pub. So that are the things which I want to explore as a part of my life. So things which I haven't done, things probably which won't be expected from me. I think that's my personal goal.
Got it. But one more thing. So you were saying about CXO level. So if you had to tell me the hierarchy, like after this, what is your next step in career growth wise in the same company, maybe taking Tata Neu? So what are the positions that you can still fill going above?
Yeah, so I think ours is a very new company, so I'm not 100% sure that how things would work out here. But normally, what would happen is, at least for a CEOs or a president office kind of a role, would be that you spend 2 years into the firm, 2 years into this role, you gain an experience of the entire business model of entire how everything works. Then probably you take up a mini leadership role in one of the divisions which you want, and then probably in another couple of years you try to take up a leadership role. So let's say if I talk about a normal social commerce unicorn which we have, probably 1 year into the CEO's office role, you are normally made the COS for any other division. The CS is the chief of staff, and then within 2 years you would be like a VP, and as and when opportunity opens up, within 5 years or 7 years, you would be actually a CXA level thing.
Okay. Understood. So, yeah, from my side, it was really nice talking to you, but let's put across some questions to other people right here to the audience now. So before we begin with these questions, I can see some questions regarding, career growth and all this. So I just wanted to put across this point that we have Club Alt Uni as well in our channel, where we pitch in mentoring sessions with people from BCG consulting firms, or, Titan is also there, part of us, or more big three, big five, and all these companies are there who give you a good plan and idea, mentor with, give you some mentorship, as well as talk to CXO level people and network throughout and learn some master classes as well. So just check that out also if you want help regarding this, because I can see many people asking questions regarding career growth and trajectory. So apart from this, now moving forward, let's see some of the questions here. So one is asking, I'm a newly qualified CA, want to pursue MBA. Any benefit to a newly qualified CA with no experience?
No specific benefits. I think when you're doing your CA, you're already done 3 years of your articleship. So definitely a lot of people have this mindset that as a fresher, if I do an MBA, am I at a disadvantaged position compared to others? So definitely there are definitely the on the job understand the in classroom discussions are more beneficial if you have work experience. But for chartered accountants, given that you guys already go through 3 years of articleship, I think you guys definitely don't have any specific advantage, because it's always better to come up with a year of experience to when you're entering into MBA. But with those 3 years of articleship, I definitely can guarantee you, you guys are not at a disadvantaged position. So probably the call would be more about that. Do you spend another year into your work ex and try to then go into your MBA, or probably you save 1 year and probably complete your you save 1 year of your job and complete your MBA 1 year earlier? That again would be a very personal choice, but I can guarantee that you won't be at a disadvantaged position for sure.
Got it. So the next question is, how much of a differentiator is doing CFA for a CA, depending on the type of industry you want to get into post MBA?
Very honestly, your CFA is not something which helps you get into a job or something. Definitely, the knowledge skills is slightly different from CA. CA is more technical in nature. So let's say most simplest example which I give people is the CA में 10 number का like a 10 mark question would be, these are the 20 data points, help me calculate the standard deviation and the correlation, right? And actually that someone would actually spend 20 minutes putting in those numbers in the normal calculator and calculating it, and they would actually go and write the six answers to the six decimal, right? And CFA is like कि यार ये काम तो financial calculator कर लेगा, tell me what's the implication of that standard deviation or the correlation, right? So I think directly indirectly doesn't help you into your job or into getting a job with or without an MBA, but definitely it helps you build a lot of skills a lot of analytical abilities, a lot of a different approach, how a different way on how you approach things, and that actually helps you perform better in your interviews. And given that if someone has cleared his cleared his CFA, that also a signal to the recruiters that okay, this person definitely has a lot of analytical abilities when it is coming to the finance domain. So I think these are the couple of areas which it really helps you.
Got it. So the next is CFA or FRM. If I have to pick one, which one should I pick, considering I have done my graduation and post-graduation in economics from top colleges?
Definitely CFA. CFA is more wholesome, more comprehensive. Until you are specifically wanting to go into the risk domain, FRM is more helpful there. But if you probably want to have a more generalist career in finance, probably want to go up into the finance industry, not necessarily the risk industry, then definitely CFA. If you have even if you want to do something even remotely related to risk, then FRM is the course for you. So again, depending on what you want to do, FRM or CFA would be the choice.
Understood. Next is CA with a ranker of top 1 to 50 get an opportunity to be an investment banker front end role?
Uh, very honestly, nowadays a lot of CAs have started getting opportunities more into management consulting and investment banking. In fact, if you look at bulge brackets like Bank of America, you will end up finding a few chartered accountants there also. So definitely ranks helps you because it helps you differentiate. Uh, it helps the recruiter differentiate you from the others. However, I have seen a lot of people uh, who have got good marks in their CA have made it have cleared in the first attempt also get opportunities nowadays. So you definitely have a lot higher chance if you pass your chartered accountancy with a rank. And definitely like mid tiers are definitely very easy picks for you guys. But with a rank in CA, you can also aim for the big bulge brackets.
Got it. What kind of cutting edge AI techniques employed in strategy nowadays?
This is multiple. This is employed in multiple folds. Firstly, let's say normally the way we implement AI or ML at here is more on the implementation front, right? So probably when I'm actually developing strategy, a lot of AI ML won't be very useful because that's the reason that we are there, right? Ki what a human brain can think, probably an AI won't be able to think. However, when we are coming up with solutions, right? Some solutions which would have been infeasible in the past are currently made feasible just because of the use of AI techniques, right? So normally nowadays, a lot of our digitization projects, a lot of our solution-oriented projects are more about okay, how do we bring in AI into the system or AI as a capability for the firm? But for devising strategy, AI hasn't been of a very significant use.
Great. Yeah, very much explainable. So next is what is your best salary till date?
Here, I guess I have been offered what I'm not sure how many. Like I have been offered a 8-digit salary. I did not end up taking that, but I have been offered that.
Okay, got it. I hope you are happy with this answer. The next one is how can a CA prepare for GMAT?
Yeah, given that I haven't prepared for GMAT, I've had friends who have prepared for it. So definitely not the best person to answer it, but uh, at least my understanding is as compared to CAT, the verbal questions or the English part of it is slightly tougher. Math is comparatively easy. Uh, Very strict recommendation. Normally, I would suggest people to take up any of the coaching material. We have multiple edtechs now in that field. We have multiple in-person classes, physical classes there, and those people will I think will provide you with the material, and then again you give some mock test, and then you appear for the exam. Unlike CAT, which happens one in a year, you have the opportunity to appear for GMAT multiple times in a year. So I think that's largely my understanding of it, but definitely not an expert, so won't give unnecessary gyan on that.
Got it. So what does a consultant do in a day-to-day activity? Can you LE5? I don't know what LE5 is. Am I pronouncing it right? ELI5. Anything?
I'll just say कि क्या करते हैं consultant.
Yeah.
Given that even I did not understand much of that. So yeah, normally you would be working on a project which will have a 3-year or a 1-month goal, and that would further be broken into weekly targets. and each day is each day the attempt is to actually uh, do an incremental work so that your weekly target is achieved. So let's say most simplest thing would be, my idea is that, okay, how do I develop a go-to-market strategy for a, let's say, a pond screen, right? So that would be a 3 month outcome, right? But now the let's say how do I improve? Uh, okay, which market do I enter, right? That could be a problem statement. So my first thing would be the first week would be focusing on what are the potential markets which funds can enter into. Then the second month would be developing criteria in which we will use to decide कि यार कौन कौन सा market को हमें cross out करना है. Then based on the shortlist, the third week would go on. How do we further deep dive into it? How would we see profitability of each of the market? And for the fourth week, for the couple of or one market which we've identified, how do the inroad plans look like, right? So this is normally the weekly plan, and within each day you would be like, okay, let's focus on these 4 countries today, right? The once you have focused on, once you have a view on those 4 countries, you would try and convert it into slides and align with your partners, right? He hires, this is what the way I think, does it make sense to you? Given that they have been in the industry for 15-20 years, उनके कुछ outcomes रहेंगे, feedback रहेंगे. So the next day would be about how do you incorporate those feedback into your deck, and at the same time make incremental progress with other 4 countries. So this is how a normal day would look like. Sometimes it would be a client interaction heavy project. So normally 2-3 घंटे दिन के हडल में चले जाएंगे, where कौन क्या कर रहा है, client की क्या expectation है, what are the bottlenecks, running a PMO, वो भी like sometimes are a part of the daily works for us.
Understood. So just a thing, ILI 5 means it means explain like I am 5. So thanks.
Okay.
Okay then, and I think you explained it exactly like that, which was very helpful. New things we learn every day, right?
Exactly.
So next question is, how difficult is preparing for CAT with a full-time job? A few pointers of do's and don'ts.
Yeah, so firstly, it's very, not being arrogant or something, बहुत easy. It's pretty easy. I did not take tuitions. Uh, I think CAT for me was on a Sunday, and even at Saturday, I think it was on a Saturday, and even Friday रात को मैं 2 बजे तक ऑफिस में काम कर रहा था, right? एक सिंगल दिन की छुट्टी नहीं मिली, कोई अलग से लीव नहीं मिला, ट्यूशंस नहीं लिया. So like being on a job or not on a job doesn't really impact a lot of things. The only way it will impact you is if you don't have a job, you can afford to start just 3 months before the exam. In case you have a job, given that a lot of time commitment would be there to your job, you will have to start 5 or 6 months earlier. That's the only difference. Some do's is ki, uh, try and maintain that consistency. Normally people have here my job kar raha hu, so I will focus on office for the 5 days, and 2 days would just be study. Don't do that. Try to put in a couple of hours every day, and then definitely weekends are the time where you step up and make more progress. uh, don't wait to complete your entire syllabus because of the mocks. uh, Try to take avoid taking in-person tuitions, because normally that would end up lasting till September, October, and November would be your CAT time, right? So focus on if you can actually get virtual classes. Try and wrap up the videos or the classes as soon as possible, and then focus on self preparation, ensuring that consistency is there. Give a lot of mocks, and normally with a personal feeling is that when you are actually working, you are more motivated. So I remember in one of the webinars of Mr. Ravindran Baiju, that time he used to teach CAT exams. Now he has become an entrepreneur, or 22 billion owner. He said that the people who are more frustrated with their job are more prone to clearing CAT, right? So the higher the frustration level, the more chances of you are of clearing CAT. So always remember that you are at a better position than someone who is a fresher and उसको पता भी नहीं है कि अभी दुनिया में क्या होना बाकी है.
Oh, well said. So the next question is, so nothing. Somebody's just asking, still a vacancy in the 8-digit salary wala job or not? I don't
यार
know.
जिसको हायर किया था ना उसको फायर कर दिया उन्होंने.
Oh, damn. So the next question is, I am currently pursuing CFA and I have only one aim of life, that is becoming rich. So what would you suggest that the best path for this is?
Yeah, so firstly, like the first thing when I heard the meme आया, so like there was this meme of Sumitra Mahajan, बैठो बेटा गौरव, अभी तो जीवन में बहुत कुछ देखना बाकी है. So that's the first reaction. But in case you actually want to become rich, your education is the easiest way. MBA कर लो, ensure that you go with decent credentials into your MBA. वहाँ पर अच्छा परफॉर्म किया, कोई ना कोई इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंक या प्राइवेट इक्विटी ले जाएगा, and like 2 years or 3 years of your MBA, you would be earning an eight-digit figure as your salary. Not sure. Like people realize after getting that कि वो I think if you, in case you guys have seen this web series called Aspirants, where Sandeep Bhaiya says it's not worth it. तो वो लेट रियलाइज होता है, so वो रियलाइज होगा फिर 8 डिजिट मिलने के बाद. So हाँ.
Oh, nice, nice, well, nice. Yeah. So the next question is, what adds more to your profile as a CA, CFA, or MBA?
Hands down MBA, hands down, because no matter CFA is a really amazing course, but again a lot of learnings were common with CA. No in-person classes, no personality development, no collaborative learning, no networking opportunities. MBA gives you everything, and that's the reason probably if you're like, given that we had a lot of questions on salaries was one of the outcomes which you can see that normally CA plus CFA, like at this point probably there are wholesale में है market में. Like if you go to a St. Xavier's college right now, in a class of 80, 40 people would be pursuing CA and CFA. But comparatively, those CAs who have been able to crack good MBA colleges, they are the ones who have been super successful. Again, not saying that CA plus MBA is required to be successful, but if you look at percentage of people who have been successful out of the people who had CA plus MBA, that percentage would be significantly very high.
Got it. So last question, what can be done as a daily habit to keep learning in while you're doing a job?
Yeah, so one thing, this is something which I'd always regretted in life, but I'm trying to get up to speed to that, is reading news articles. So Indians have a mindset कि यार जितना भी free app है वही पढ़ना है, so मैं ET ही पढ़ूंगा. One of the best investments you can make is there are a lot of paid newsletters, new websites like Morning Context, Ken is there, Captival is there. They give you the amazing news, like summarized versions. You literally have, like you can see through what's happening across the globe by spending 5-7 minutes on those articles. So this three, like probably if you could just subscribe to that and like let's just spend half an hour in a day, this would, and again this would be the time normally you are traveling, you're just doing nothing, you're just waiting for like खा रहे हो, you are just normally you would watch some OTT devices, you could just put this in an audio mode. Believe me, like after a certain, like after you spend 20 days doing it, it becomes an addiction, right? So nowadays it happens that probably if someday Morning Context hasn't sent an article because the previous day was an off for them, so it was like वो addiction हो जाता है, right? Like हाथ पांव कांपने लग जाएंगे, यार क्या करूं आज, मतलब कुछ है ना, कुछ तो पढ़ना था ना. So it's really addictive. So I think the first 20 days are a challenge, but in case you want to keep up with the learning, these news articles, especially the new age ones, Captival, Ken is amazing. Morning Context, so you can definitely use that and leverage that.
Got it. I think we are done with today's webinar. It was amazing talking to you, Ashish. And I think the best part about you, I felt, was you have achieved a lot, that is for sure. But you're still down to earth and, you explain things like he said, ELI5. You exactly explain things like that. And it was really nice talking to you and understanding your perspective, your learnings. And I'm happy to have you and happy to have a person who has been in business since he was in 10th. So that is something which is new and appreciated. So thank you so much, Ashish. And thank you so much, audience, for watching this. And Okay. There are two more questions, just quick questions. They are like, we want to ask you something. What is more easy to get in, B school in UK or top IIM and offer better opportunities? Any idea?
Yeah, so in case you like, I think the both are equally tough. So none is easier. I think people who normally end up getting into one definitely have the capabilities to go into the other one also. So it's largely about the motivation, what you actually want to do. If you want to get placements within the Indian ecosystem, within India, so I think then it's about like working hard, going for CAT, and like ensuring that you have a good profile more on the meritorious line, and properly cracking CAT. And in case you actually want to make a career abroad, I want to have that holistic life, then it would be more about doing GMAT, going into a foreign college. And in the journey, you also need to ensure that you are actually just not a nerd or don't have good credentials, but an overall personality, because They just don't look at your scores. They're looking at what extracurricular you have done, what are your communication skills. So I think the clarity on where do you actually want yourself in 5 years, where do you see yourself working, or where do you see yourself making a career, that is the deciding factor. Both are equally easy or equally tough, and it just depends upon that आपको करना क्या है. अगर I haven't seen or met someone who is able to crack catch very easily and has a difficulty in cracking GMAT, and vice versa. So it's just about what you want to do and align your approach for that.
Got it. I don't know if it's a joke or not. Let's see. The last question is, how do you cope up with the headaches, job in general, life in particular?
Well, yes, in case anyone, like if you visit my LinkedIn, that's my venting out. So I have a humorous or like recently I was told I'm a bully. So I have a bully take for everything that's happening around me. And that's my venting out. And in case you haven't followed me on LinkedIn, do follow me.
So you have the answer. Either follow him on LinkedIn and see him venting out and feel good about it, or maybe make your own channel and do the same.
Exactly.
So I guess we are done. Thank you so much, Ashish. His name is Aashish Jhunjhunwala. I think he's tagged here also. So check him out on LinkedIn as well, guys. And thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
Thank you so much, Nandini. Thank you.
Thank you.